All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Alchemy Podcast. I'm your host, Doug Cartwright, and I am really looking forward to my guest today, Miki Agrawal. Miki, so I was driving out here, and have you ever heard of the terminology uncommon commonalities?
No, it makes sense.
Yeah, right. It's like,
I feel like we have that.
We have a shit ton.
Yeah.
Right? And I was thinking, I'm like, what are all the uncommon commonalities we have?
Holy shit, we're alive.
Right. We both wrote books called Holy Shit, We're Alive. We're probably we're the only two people in the world who wrote books, Holy Shit, We're Alive, and we happen to be in the same room.
It's pretty crazy.
Out of 8 billion people.
I know, that's kind of insane.
It's insane.
We're both twins.
We both have January birthdays.
Oh.
Yep.
When's your birthday?
The 4th.
Oh, 4th? Did you just had a birthday?
Just had the B-Day.
Happy B-Day.
Thank you.
How you feel?
I've never felt better in my whole life.
Same. I feel like I feel like I get hotter by the year, you know?
Yeah, same. We age like a fine wine.
Fine wine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Need some breathing.
We're both entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
We both also kind of left like the corporate structure into more of an expressive, creative entrepreneur making impact. And so I know we've got a lot in common.
I love that.
I got a lot in common. And so
you have to come to Austin, then we'll be like,
I've already lived in Austin.
I know, but you have to actually be here at the same time.
I'm getting recruited right now, everybody.
Yeah, this is an official recruit.
This is an official recruiting meeting.
Yeah.
And one thing that I admire about you, and you're a new friend.
Yeah.
We've kind of crossed a little bit here and there.
Yeah, and I know your sister.
And you know my twin sister.
I literally helped her a little bit on her crude, just a little bit, but we had a few meetings. She's beautiful. She's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's whole weird. I actually remember my first time I ever met you. I don't know if you remember this, is I think it was Brooke Amber held a party at her place in Brooklyn. And I went with Denise.
Right.
And we briefly chatted for maybe 1 second.
Cool.
Yeah. That was probably 5 years ago.
Huh.
And one thing that I admire about you is in my interactions with you, I feel you before I talk to you. Like you can feel like this bold, confident, expressive, weird energy, right?
Take it.
And it kind of shows up and you feel it before you really, get to know you. And so I'm really excited for this conversation because I haven't really ever sat down and chatted with you in this kind of state. And so one thing that I've been working on in my life, and a lot of people who listen to the pod, is how do we become better versions of ourselves? And with that, how do we become a more expressed version of ourselves? And there tends to be as you're growing, as you're expanding, you have this new idea, this new concept, and you kind of hit this wall. And it's kind of like, oh, how do I get over this hump? And what are people going to think? And what if it doesn't work? And the kind of this fear, I think a lot of people can almost see glimpses of what their life could be like, but they are scared to make that jump, make that leap. You've made that leap multiple times and you've created multiple businesses. From my understanding, you've got 4, 5, where you're I think we got Wild, we got THINX, we got TUSHY, and now Hero, right? And you've written 2 books, technically 3 with Holy Shit, We're Alive.
Right. That's like a notebook, but yeah.
And so the muscle I want to learn from you, how did you... I
wrote an album too.
And an album. I mean, I'm a woman of many talents.
Yeah. You have to listen to it.
I would love to. Yeah. I'll listen to it on my way home.
Okay.
Right? And it's really impressive. And what does the inner dialogue sound like for you when the creative comes and it's I have to build this thing? How do you actually get to that point of what is the inner dialogue saying of I need to express this into the world?
As opposed to just being I have lots of ideas and I just and you say you're going to do it and then you don't do it.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people have ideas. Yeah. Oh, this would be cool, but and they never get to it.
Yeah.
How do you actually get over that finish line or just get to that point where you're expressing really cool stuff in the world?
I mean, so in my first book, Do Cool Shit, I actually thought about that question of just what makes one start something or care enough to take the leap and actually stand the test of time. And I kind of boiled it down to 3 questions. I don't know if you heard them, which is like, what sucks in my world? Does it suck for a lot of people? And can I be passionate about this for a really long time? And so for me, it often starts with like a true personal pain point. And it's like the restaurants, right before I started Wild, which was New York City's first gluten-free farm-to-table pizza restaurant, every time I ate pizza, I would have bloating, gassy, painful stomach aches because it was like bleach flour, processed cheese. My body was so sensitive to just bad, yucky food, you know? And so it sucked in my world, learned that 1 in 5 Americans are lactose intolerant, learned that 1 in 5 Americans eat gluten-free. I was like, wow, huge opportunity to disrupt America's favorite pastime, $32 billion category pizza. No one was making it better. Like, cool, let's just try. And I think there's something about creativity and experimentation that go hand in hand, that I think have to go hand in hand. If you're like someone who wants to try things and see what happens, and experiment could work, the experiment doesn't need to work, And I think like there's obviously calculated experiments that you take. You're like, should I run this experiment or shouldn't I run this experiment? I think it comes the same with love. It's like, oh, this is an experiment. Like, I'll run this love experiment, see if it works. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. And I think a lot of people are so married to the outcome that it becomes like, I don't even want to start at all, because what if it fails? Versus like, it's an experiment, So I'll start with the what sucks, the 3 questions, and I'll go into like the other thought around this going for it thing. So the first is like, what sucks in my world? So like pizza started Wild. THINX, having period accidents every single month was like, what the fuck, And then TUSHY, going to the bathroom and using dry paper to wipe your ass in 2020. I'm like, what the like, this is truly savage. Like, this is not okay.
It's a mess over here.
It's a mess. Your hairy asshole, I'm sorry, gross, And so it's like the fact that we've just become okay with the way things are is just insane. And then with Hero, just the plastic is just insane. The fact that there's plastic, there's gonna be more plastic in the ocean than fish by 2050. There's plastic inside of your scrotum right now. There's plastic in our brains, bodies, and reproductive organs. And there's truly just plastic everywhere. And like, there's something that's gotta solve it. And turns out there are certain types of fungi that break down plastics. And so anyways, what sucks in my world is suck for a lot of people. Can I be passionate about this for a really long time? And all the things I've started really answer those questions.
Yeah. And one thing that I've picked up on in personal development and business and whatnot is that a common trait that successful entrepreneurs have that I don't think it's talked about enough is they have a strong foundation and a really high self-worth. And what I mean by that is because they have an inner self-worth, they're actually okay with, hey, I can go take this risk, because if it fails, it doesn't affect who I am.
Totally. I think it's twofold. It can be this like almost this proving piece, which I certainly had too with my Indian father, and like wanting to prove my worthiness, initially, to like, I got this. Like, it's a combination of like, I can do this. I'm okay if I fail, but actually I'm not really okay if I fail, to be honest. But like, there's this desire to keep going, but then over time realizing that it's all an experiment. And then it's kind of like when you grow up, you think you know everything when you're like in your early teens, and then 20s, like, I know everything, mom, dad, until like the older we get, the less we know.
Like, I don't know shit.
I don't know shit.
Yeah.
I don't know shit. That's one thing I know. I don't know shit. And so it's like, it's the same thing where it's like, at first there's this like, oh my God, white knuckling, like, is this going to work? And like, I want to prove my worthiness, and like people invested in me, or I'm told all my friends about it. Like, is it going to work? And so until like, it's kind of like when you have a first kid versus second kid. I have 1 kid right now, but like, the idea of having a second kid would be like, the first kid, you're like, is it breathing? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Doing everything right. Second kid, you're like, just brush your, you fell, just brush your, you're good, fine. You're fine. And it's like they say, treat your business like a second child. And it's like, it's not a white knuckle expression. And, for me, like the idea of the word failure or failing forward, like I talk about that in my second book, Disruptor, where it's like, people have such a fear of failure because of what are people going to say? What am I going to look like? Am I going to be disrespected? Or are people going to, whatever. Oftentimes it's just about how I project it, how I look, like, what do I look like? But in there's one chapter about failure, I talk about the the replacing the word failure altogether with the word revelation. Like, what has been revealed to me in this experiment of like trying something and seeing what happens? There's no like failing forward. There still has failure in it. It's like for the fragile egos who don't want to, like deal with the word,
Sure.
So it's just like, let's just reveal stuff. Like, what has this experience revealed to me? Like, what has my marriage with my ex-husband revealed to me? Like, what did this most relationship reveal to me? Like, there's no like, oh, you're divorced. Like, you failed. It's like, no, I had a beautiful beginning, middle, and an end in that relationship. And I want something deeper and different. May we all express, and there's no failure. It's just what's been revealed to what I'm yearning for next.
Yeah, it almost sounds like it's a science experiment of just gathering data.
Yeah, it's gathering, and it's like so in my book Disruptor, I talk about the scout who goes into a forest before it brings a whole community to the other side, and the scout often goes by itself into the forest. Sometimes it runs into a ravine. Sometimes it runs into a fallen log. Sometimes it runs into a bear chasing it. Sometimes it runs into like random shit. Is it going to like go back with his tail between his legs, like I failed, I couldn't get the other side? Or is it going to go a different route and then go back and go a different route, go back a different route? And each route is like a different experience, and it's a different adventure. And I shared that the other day as well. It's like we have this like idea of how things are supposed to go. We have an idea of like how our business, how is our life, how our family, and I'm going to meet this woman and I'm going to have babies and we're going to have like what? And it's just not like that, One
of my favorite questions to ask is, how good have you been at predicting how your life's going to unfold?
Like,
so bad. Terrible. I don't know anyone who's been like, yeah, I've nailed it.
Totally.
It's like,
and if you have, you're boring.
Yeah.
Because you've lived such a no judgment, but like, it's not the life. I love being wowed and being like, like in French, they call it coup de foudre. It's like being hit by a ton of bricks. It's just like, and that's what makes life exciting. It's like the sparkle, and it's like the sparkle. It's like, you're not going to believe this.
I mean, if we knew how life was going to be, it'd be quite boring.
Yeah.
Right. You think about playing like the Mario Brothers on Super Nintendo, right? If every level you just started and then jumped on the pole and it went down and ended, and you did that every level, you turn the game off in 2 minutes.
Or it's like, oh, you built the thing and it was perfectly successful and you sold it, and then you bought the house and then you had the perfect partner. It's like, versus like, oh my God. And then these guys try to take me down. And then this really happened. And then I had to sit in court for some random shit. Or then and then I overcame it. Then I launched a new company and it was different, but it was really hard. Whatever. It was just, there's like, let me sit on my lap and let me tell you a tale is so much more interesting. It's like my favorite quote. It's, I want to skid to death's door sideways, not in a well-preserved body, thoroughly used up, loudly proclaiming, wow, what a life.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to be thoroughly used up. Yeah. You want to be like dirty.
Yeah. I would say, I want to be on my deathbed, about to die, and say, I earned this.
Yeah.
Like, I earned this death.
That's it.
I'm here for it, right?
That's it.
And in your journey of entrepreneurship and being a wife and a mother, and then all the changes and moving across country, and coming from, you're Canada, correct? Right?
Yeah.
Coming from Canada and then doing Cornell, all of these different versions of Miki. There's so many different versions of Miki, right? In your process of full expression, what lesson has taken you the longest to learn?
Slow down. It's like, and it's just appearing over and over and over again in my ayahuasca ceremony in the middle of 80 million acres in Amazon rainforest jungle, the sacred headwaters. I went last year for New Year's and sat with the Ashwar tribe and the Sapra tribe, with the indigenous leaders, and they led us into this ayahuasca journey. And made me drink a full cup. Same. How tall are you?
6'4".
Yeah, Mark Hyman's 6'4". Like, whatever. All this, like, we all. It was the same, like, and amount. And I'm tiny, and yet they're like, you drink a full cup, and I was like, okay, and
buckle up.
And I just laid back, and after the crazy circus thing.
Wait, I want to pause real quick. you just said something that was like, I've never heard anyone else hear it. So we'll get back to the story, but I have to stop here because when in my ayahuasca experiences, I have it's the same format, right? I drink, it gets crazy. Circus, fractals. I call it the fractal forest.
Yeah.
And you have to you have to cut, you have to go through it.
And it's just.
And you have to like solve problems.
It's crazy.
It's like geometric but you can get through it.
Yeah.
And then you get through it. And then it's all the lessons.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I've never met anyone that has the same experience. Because I explain that to people and they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, there's this fractal craziness, geometric insanity. That like makes you lose your mind almost.
At first you're like, I'm going to be okay. Like you have to tell yourself I'm going to be okay. Yes, on your way
like,
as it's happening.
I can't make sense of this. Don't get like, you're okay. You're not like, I'm always on. I'm like, I've said to myself, if this gets 1% more weird, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm never coming back.
For sure.
And then it goes away. And then it's like, oh my gosh, you're the only other person I know that has that exact experience.
Add that to our list of commonalities.
Yeah, the fractal forest.
Uncommon commonalities. I also did the darkness. I'll talk about that as well. But the line that kept coming up over and over again during the ayahuasca ceremony was, move slowly and you get to meet the moment. Move slowly and you get to meet the moment, because we move so quickly and we miss the moments. Even if the moments that when we're having it, it's like peak of life, like all, it's amazing. And we're so lucky to have these incredible experiences in life. And yet then it's the next thing and then it's the next thing, and it's the next thing. And it's like to be able to just like integrate a little bit more each experience. And that only comes when you slow and you're able to just sit. And like, one of my songs in my album is called Do Less, Be More. And it's just about like, like what does that look like? It's something like this. To eye gaze for minutes, feel the plump of your lips. It's laying back, no words while strolling, but feeling, allowing the now to pour in. It's just like, there's no word. Like sometimes it's okay to just be and just share no word and just the now. That's it. Like there's no like, we need the peak life hit, it's like, this is peak life.
Yeah, this is
if
it.
we decide we're doing it. This is peak life, right? The second.
Yeah.
If we choose it, if we want it. And it's like there's so much doing versus being. And I just crave the just laying in bed and not having anywhere to go, and not wanting to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's like there's nowhere to go and there's nowhere else I'd rather be, And that's what love is to me. It's like there's nowhere else I'd rather be. That's what being fully present is, and that's what's like, it's both having the experience and integrating at the same time. That's like truly where I'm headed. And it's like the word of my 2024 was soft power. And my word for 2025 is undefended trust, where it's just like there's no defending of my heart.
Right.
It's just
full surrender.
Full surrender.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
We did talk about this.
Yeah, and your book, and there's this line that you said to me, it's like, the more you're able to, like, the more, like, it's like when you go all in is actually the full surrender.
Yeah.
Which I think is I can't believe I remembered that.
Yeah. That's what my next book's about.
I know. And I wrote it down in my journal because I usually I don't remember the quote. So that's amazing it means it's sticky. Is like the idea of like going all in as surrender versus just letting it happen to you.
Yeah. So
it's so interesting to me.
Because there's a big misconception, I think, in this, the spiritual development, whatever, of people like, oh, surrender. You think it means
let go, let life happen.
Let life happen. I'm just going to kick back. I'm like, no, surrender means the opposite. It means surrendering your ego.
Right.
Your preference. And then once that's out of the way, I'm going to go all in on what life is, the assignment God has put in front of me.
Right.
Like I'm being asked to do this, build this business. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm scared. I'm frustrated. I want it to look a certain way. I'm going to surrender the preference. And now I'm going to go all in.
I love that.
That's true surrender.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I always find myself, specifically in the realm of love, having a foot a little bit on the outside, just to protect the full surrender of the full, because then it's like, I'm okay if it doesn't work. Even if like, they're like, I love you, I'm in love with him. It doesn't, like, I still have, I don't know, there's something that I want to be full 2 feet in. That is my next quest in the realm of love, is like both feet in, all in, you know?
Yeah. I mean, because, you know, you're in an 11-year partnership, right?
I was, yeah.
Yeah. You were in an 11-year partnership and you became a parent with that partner.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm all in with my baby.
All in with your baby.
Yeah.
How has becoming a mother changed your viewpoint on partnership?
Beautiful question. Well, specifically as coming out of my marriage with a kid was a kind of a curiosity. What's it going to be like?
Yeah.
Will people find that interesting, or will they find it because I'm a package deal,
Right.
you know? And I mean, I didn't have a problem, I'll tell you what, but I think everyone's different. I think it's how you approach it and how you approach your child. And my son Hero happens to be epic as a human. So people fall in love with him so easily because he's so fallen lovable with. But it really, for me, specifically coming out of a marriage, being a mom, entering like a new love space, it is interesting because I learned in the relationships that I've had since my marriage ended that they have to love my son as much as they love me.
Yeah.
And if they don't, it's a no deal. And I was with someone who worshiped the ground I walked on, but just was like, oh, hey, Hero, like just kind of like had to like, you know, like do the pleasantries, but was really there for me, which was beautiful. But like, it wasn't what was called forward for what the actual ecosystem really needed for it to be really, really good, in all the different ways. And so, you know, this relationship I've been in over the last few months was just such a healing from that experience because he loves Hero. He supports him. He's so amazing. You know, I think for this one, it's again, long distance, and it's just about timing and all of that. And, but I just watched the difference of like my nervous system with someone who really loves Hero and someone who is just tolerating him. And it's like, you have to love
It seems
him.
like you can attune to that pretty intuitively, kind of really to tune into that relationship with your partner.
I think coming out of my marriage, I was double clicking on like, woohoo, you know what I mean? On just like having like the most like just fierce, like rapturous expression of like, you know, just, you know, bat out of a cave kind of experience. But then like coming out of that, I do want passion and like rapture and all of that. And I want deep ease and stable, like available and like stable love. It's like the combination, and it's really hard often to find that balance between like stable and still like hot, you know?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough to find out there, right?
Yeah, until you're, and so like it was really nice to experience that in this last, but yeah.
Before we started filming, you mentioned that, you know, on your dating journey, you're in this phase of like, I'm just gonna stop. I'm gonna like really lock in. I'm really gonna take a break.
Yeah.
Right. And it's interesting, you know, by yourself, because it's interesting because in your ayahuasca experience, you had the insight of like slowing down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so in this moment of like pausing for you, what is the difficult part for you in doing that? Like why, like it feels like this is an edge for you, like you're used to just going fast. And like, what's the intention of slowing down and what are you hoping this brings for you?
Just deeper insights, because it's like, it's so easy. Like, I had a deep heartbreak from my last experience, my last partner. And from that heartbreak came a beautiful, easeful, loving, kind person that just, you know, but I was like just using that as a filling, like the hurt, you know, and like, you know, had I met him a year later, maybe it'd be different, but like meeting him right on the heels of that was like, it was filling a hole versus like adding to it. So like, I think for me, like I need the time to just like process and
Yeah.
and also just understand like what worked, what didn't work, what is it that I need to upgrade in myself, where are the trust pieces that I didn't have in the process, where are the pieces that I could own myself and not just move on to the next thing and then just repeat a pattern, right?
Yeah.
Like what are some of the patterns that I saw within myself that I could improve and I can just become aware of so that I can find that awareness quicker in the next relationship.
Yeah,
you know?
it sounds like because I want to talk about your darkness retreat because what I'm hearing is the same lesson you kind of learn in your darkness retreat, that you can't kind of escape
Right.
the discomfort. So first off, share what a darkness retreat is,
Yeah.
right? How it was for you.
Yeah.
And kind of like, I would love to hear, because I don't know too many of the logistics. It's something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
Right. And I hear it's really difficult.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm curious, what is a darkness retreat? What came up for you? What was that experience like?
Right. So there's like there are different retreat centers all around. This one was in Southern Oregon.
Is this Sky Cave?
Sky Caves.
Yeah, Sky Cave.
Yeah. Really, really cool experience. And you go into the forest and there are these caves underground that you go under and there's no light, like zero, like it's pitch black cave. And I was in there for 5 days, 5 nights and 4 days, 5 nights. It was, imagine just like, there's a bed, there's like a little tub, and there's a bathroom, but there's pitch black, so you have to like, and there's a little chair, and then you have to, and to receive food, we got food once a day through this like trap door where they would open on one side and push the food in, and it was in Tupperware, and they'd close it, and then you open your side, and you would just feel your way around. You open the Tupperware, and you're like, oh, it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich,
Yeah.
or that's like carrots, or that's apples, and that's with peanut butter, and let me just, and it was just like, and then to go to the bathroom, and then to run the tub, you had to and you had to know where all of your stuff was. I had to know where my toothbrush was. I had to know where my TUSHY travel was because I refused to go anywhere without washing my butt with a bidet.
Yeah.
And just like all the things. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done because when you strip even your sight, like, people do Vipassanas and I'm excited to do Vipassana in the coming year. But when you've stripped away truly all of your senses and there's nothing to even look at, it's just what's inside that you have to you just have to be with it. There's not even any managing, trying to process or trying to do anything or understand, or it's just you eventually are just by fighting it, you're just exhausting and anxiety. So it ends up being just about being with it and learning how to truly be with it. And I noticed that I went into a sweat lodge experience 6 months later, and usually they scare the shit out of me. And I was able to really tap into the breathing of the auditory breathing that I did in the darkness to just soothe myself and just allow sounds to come through to just to be with the harder feelings. But what I noticed in the darkness was ultimately this slowing down of a thought or a feeling entering the field, because it's just random shit that just enters the field, and then it triggers this somatic, a felt sensation in the body, which then triggers this patterned reaction, which then triggers this response. And so it goes ping, 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 ping. It happens because we're a little machine that it happens so quickly in the real life that it's just unnoticeable. But when you're in the darkness, it's oh, this thought or this feeling, oh my God, this is what's making, oh my God. So it just made me really understand that we're just zeros and ones that have been programmed with patterns, and that we can reprogram them if we slow it down.
Wow.
And just allow for the stuff. And I'm still learning that even after felt like 500 years in there. And afterwards I was it was just everything was slow, and then slowly.
So do you have any idea of how long you've been in there, or do they just come and get you when you're done?
They just come and get you when you're done.
So you're
well, I had a different experience because I had my ex join me for 2 nights. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was the first time they've ever let anyone join another person in a cave.
So you guys shared the experience.
The room, just the last 2 nights. I did 3 nights by myself and then 2 nights with him.
Yeah.
And it was...
How was that?
Wild. It was truly, first of all, having another person in the room, just like at first, it felt a little like suffocating initially. Because at first I was excruciatingly relieved. Yeah. Just to feel just like another human. Yeah. And then when the door closed, I felt like, oh my God, there's 2 of us in this little, whatever. And then I felt a little, I need to get me out of here. But then like he's experienced like pretty intense stuff in his life. And so we were able to get to a place where we were both like really relaxed. And then it became really exciting, erotic, like all the different things. And then painful and hurtful. But like it was just, everything was just acute, like truly at the most acute because all your senses are gone. It was profound. It was profound levels of love experienced, profound levels of pain experienced. Yeah, profound levels of like desire and then like repulsion. It was like all of it. It was wild. Wow.
Was it a similar experience where, when I do medicine work, there's always kind of like this really, really intense part where my mind's freaking out, like I'm losing everything, and there's a lot of tension, and then it's almost like you get over a hill.
Right.
And then you can drop in. Yes. And then it's like, okay, cool, I get this.
We dropped in. We had like a full 18 hours of like deep drop in of just pure ecstatic love. Wow. Like it was like the ecstatic love that, one can only experience with all of your senses, like, like removed. Yeah. But then little things can set, and you're just like, whoa, like, so it was a lot, but there was a period in there that was truly ecstatic.
Yeah, it sounds like, kind of some of the takeaways on this is just, and I teach this in my work, that the greatest skill you can learn as a human being is to be able to handle your emotional experience.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
I can handle fear, frustration, anger, sadness, grief, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like, in those experiences, it kind of brings it right here and you can't escape from it. Same thing, medicine work does the same. And in your dating experience of like taking a pause, it's really to kind of really process, sounds like to process some, stuck or things you may have avoided.
Yeah.
And one thing that's been coming up for me in my study is you hear like this phrase of be here now.
Right.
And when you hear be here now, you tend to tie it to like a beautiful experience. It's like be here now and be by the river and be a hippie and meditate and everything's amazing and be here now.
Just be present with the feelings.
Be here now also means, can I sit here in the face of immense pain?
Yeah.
And fear and loss and frustration and anger and disappointment. That's also be here now.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that skill set is the most important skill any human being can learn.
I agree. And I think that darkness taught me that. Actually, it taught me that. And this period of time that I'm entering where I'm just going to like be kind of like not with a romantic interest is an important experience for me, to not feel coddled by love, someone else's love, that I can hold myself in periods of pain. And I'll say this, like after New Year's, so I had this experience with my, a breakup, a heartbreak with my ex. And I met this incredible man right after, but didn't have any time to process.
Yeah.
And after New Year's, I got to spend 2 days alone in Costa Rica by myself. And there's just so much emotion that just came up. I was shaking for hours in bed in the middle of the night, like full shaking. It was like, and it's like a deer shaking off. It's like not even like my body. It's not like no longer cognitive. It's just the body just having to process this stuff.
Yeah, an energetic release.
It was an energetic release of just like moving through stuff that needed to just get out of like the little corners of my body that were still there. Yeah. It's not even like, oh, I want to, it's just that stuck and needed to come out.
Yeah, and one thing, I don't know if you do this, but one thing I've caught myself doing, a pattern I've caught is, as an entrepreneur, as kind of like I like to express and live a big life, is that I will speed up my life rather than feel or process the emotions. It's really easy as entrepreneurs. We're like, I've gone through a year ago, I went through a big heartbreak, right? Rather than sitting with it, it was like, well, I'll just do this business or start a new book or whatever. And I tend to speed up when I feel like I have a lack of control. And I can see how that's, compounds my life and creates more disruption.
Right.
And, it sounds like from what you're sharing is just, that similar concept of like, hey, we have to really be able to sit and handle and energetically release.
Right.
Because if not, you're going to carry that energy into your next project.
Exactly. And same thing, exactly the same thing in business, same thing in everything. It's like there needs to be some integration time, and I think going from THINX to TUSHY, I had a crazy experience with my THINX, with my company. We scaled so quickly, and people and money and power and all that stuff I experienced for the first time. And I spent a year, before I really stepped fully into building TUSHY. But I took that time to let myself integrate. I also had Hero that year. So I had my first year to just really process through that. It was a huge year of just transformation. And I needed to go through that portal of pain and feeling misunderstood and hurt and sad and angry, but then be with those feelings in order to then, learn how to be a better parent, teacher, leader, over time.
No, as the topic of relationship has come up a couple times here. I'm curious, what is something you desire in your next relationship that you've been craving in the past?
Just available intimacy, available, there's no it's just that the wiring of the person is just enveloping. You know what I mean? And it's an available love. It's not going through something themselves and there's going through the divorce or their own. It's just we're both clean, we're both available. Mm-hmm. And there's this depth of desire to just be in this deep, intimate space. And there's no holding back that. It's just this is how I am. I'm just built that way. You're okay, great. I'm not trying to play games. You're not either. It's just a clean, available, intimate pretzel,
Yeah, almost this presence of just being able to handle and hold.
Just be together. And there's no well, I was, my preference was to do this and I was trying to do that. And I was just okay, there's nowhere else I'd rather be than here with you. Fuck it all. And so that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love what you said, those that know me really well know that I'm a true disciple of Michael Singer.
Ah.
Right.
Yes.
And
I was going to go there for.
Let's go. I'll go. I'll go this week.
Okay, great.
I'll go whenever. I've been a couple times. I love it. Right.
Yeah.
And so I have studied, and I'm not being sarcastic. I'm over the 10,000 hour mark on Michael Singer for sure. And for the last 8 years, 2 to 3 hours a day, sometimes 6 hours a day, I'll listen to his stuff 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times in a row. My goal is I want my subconscious rooted in his work.
Huh. Explain why.
Because I think it's the highest, most true work on planet Earth, because it's
to surrender.
It's not gimmicks. It's not tools. It's just the reason we suffer is because of preference.
Totally.
Right. And where did our preference come from? The sum of our learned experiences.
Right. Totally.
Right. The sum of our learned experiences is based upon every moment we've experienced. But for every moment we've experienced, we missed 9 billion trillion zillion. So right now, me and you are having a moment. Right? We're here in Austin, Texas. We're filming this. How many moments on planet Earth are we missing right now? There's no number.
Yeah.
Infinite trillion, right? But my data set, I know Doug's data set to make decisions is only based off 0.001% of the data.
Right.
So for me to say, I know what's best and I know how this works, I know, it's a statistical rounding error. Right. And so Singer's work is just really hey, we live on a planet. The holy shit, we're alive, right?
Yeah.
We live on a planet. 1.3 million Earths fit inside the sun. We happen to be on Earth where you have 25 trillion cells in your body. how many of them are you actually controlling?
Right.
Zero, right? Your heart beats automatically, you blink automatically, your kidneys do what they need to do. Like when you got pregnant, you didn't make the baby. The baby was made inside of you. And life intelligence made that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't create an eyeball, right? You didn't go to the kitchen, make an eyeball and give it to Hero, right? Like life knows what it's doing.
Right.
And so surrendering to the natural rhythms of life, the flow of life, getting your preference out of the way, right, allows you to actually experience the depth and the growth of the human experience, whatever is meant for you.
Absolutely.
And so,
what are some of the preferences you're trying to let go
of? Preferences I'm trying to let go of right now is how well my next book's going to do, when I should be in partnership already, when I'm going to be a dad, where I'm supposed to live, because I want to be around my friends.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the hardest decision I ever made in my life was just a couple months ago, moving back to Utah. Right. My ego, Doug's preference, stay in LA, my friends are there, the beach, great food, there's great music and entertainment.
Why did you move back?
I just felt it. There was this call at my core. It's like, it's time to go back to Utah. And I'm like, hell no. No way. You know, I love Utah. My family's there.
Right.
A lot of my businesses are there. So there's obviously a lot of upside. But for my ego, I like to have fun. We like to go to you got a big birthday party coming up tomorrow, right? It's like stuff like that, like party and friends and whatever. Yeah. But I surrendered to the call.
Yeah.
And, you know, and still unfolding, kind of figuring out why, and that's okay. But I think a skill set that would do a lot of people a lot of good, and it sounds like you're learning this too, is the ability to sit in the discomfort of not knowing.
Mm-hmm. And it was so interesting because 100%. And it's like in business, it's like we take risks. There's experimentation and there's like going for it and the creativity and the pursuit and it's the fun. But it's like that and love. That's like a surrender. It's like, that's why I think a lot of people still stay in stable relationships because they're entrepreneurs, because they're like, they need something stable in their life versus like, everything's an experiment and everything is like there's no guarantees, you know, there's no like, you know, and so it's interesting to like surrender into that like it's all an illusion. Nothing is actually like true. Like even a marriage certificate doesn't mean like really anything. Sure. It's just made up agreement, you know? And so it's like, so it's surrendering to the fact that life in every direction is an experiment. For me, is my thing. It's like at first I was like, I just want like stable, you know, like even I said that here. It's like I want stable, like that's a preference, right? But it's like maybe, you know, maybe there's something like I do feel like a consistent love does lend itself to when you water a plant, you know, when it gets consistent rain, consistent sun, it just flowers and grows way, way stronger and sturdier, flourishes so much better than something that's sporadic and not, you know, tended to in a consistent way. Hero, my son, having a sleep schedule every single day in his early years has lent itself to him being a really smart, capable, like not all over the place kid, you know, like things like that where I'm like, you know, like, do these preferences matter or like, is it a preference or is it just how nature is meant to be? Mm-hmm. You know, so there's like also, there's that, you know, curiosity. But in business, it's like you do need to water the plants in a consistent way. You do need to grow something in consistent
Surrender does not mean don't do anything.
Right.
No, it means...
Like Michael Singer was so consistent with his work. Yeah.
Yeah. It means like, planning is part of building a business. Doing marketing plans is part of a business. Doing your accounting is part of your business. Making hard decisions is a part of your business. Yeah. Can you fully surrender to that, what's being asked of you? Mm-hmm. Right? Getting your preference out of the way.
Right.
You know, you went a little meta there about like, you know, a marriage certificate is just, what does it mean? It's just an agreement. I'm curious, what do you think happens when we die? I know no one knows, but like, what if you had to guess?
I mean, you know, you know, would it be beautiful to feel into like a spiritual reincarnation that your spirit goes into something else, another body? I feel like it goes to, you know, my spirit kind of passes on to my son, and the next gen, my kids. And it's not necessarily like that's belief. And I think belief systems are so important to like allow us to surrender more and to like just be like, okay, like having a belief in God just takes the pressure off. Like I'm just like here in service of, and I don't have to carry the burden. It just lightens the load energetically. And that's, even if it's placebo, it's brilliant and it's amazing. And I want to believe that there is a spirit guiding me that allows me to not feel like I'm having to figure it out on my own. And so, it's the belief that I believe in more so than the thing itself. So what do I believe? What I would love to believe is that the spirit does keep progressing, through not just our genetic, because that's also egoic. It's like through what we bring into the world, the things, the mycelial networks that we create from our own tentacles. Like that to me is like where our spirit continues. It's not necessarily like all of a sudden Miki spirit gets reincarnated into someone else's body, but it's like it's the tendrils of what we've like you say, like you walk in, you feel the energy. It's like there's going to be that energy in other places, and like who's going to carry those energies forward? It doesn't necessarily be you, but it could be just the energetics, and that's spiritual too. So I'm not really answering the question, but it's like I think it's the energetic, and it's like the energy, the spirit,
continuation
of the energy
of the energetic expression, evolution.
Yeah.
One of my favorite questions I like to ask.
Hey, what do you believe?
I am okay with whatever happens. So if it's like lights out forever, like where was I before I was born? That's where I'm going to be after I die. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I believe that there will be a moment of remembrance intertwined with an infinite intelligence that has overwhelming love and compassion and understanding for me. So, for example, do you have an animal like a dog or a cat or?
I do, like I had a dog, and I gave her to my bestie here in Austin, so I do see her.
Cool.
But she's not necessarily my dog,
right.
But I'm like the dog auntie.
Right.
The
Love
OG that. Mommy dog auntie.
What's this dog's name?
Maggie Modo.
So Maggie
Moto.
Maggie Modo.
Yeah.
Right. So Maggie Modo has an energy.
Yeah.
Has a personality.
Yeah.
Right. And can attune to your emotional states. Right.
Yeah.
And can feel happy, it can feel sad, it can get the zoomies, right? Maggie Modo is a conscious entity spirit in some capacity. However, Maggie Modo's brain has a limited capacity. So if you said, you know what, my next business, I'm going to commit my life to, I'm going to teach Maggie Modo global economics. And I'm going to gather resources. I'm going to listen to the podcast. I'm going to read all the books. I'm going to really get Maggie Modo to understand global economics.
Yeah.
There's just, no matter how hard you try, you're not going to get anywhere with Maggie Modo because her brain doesn't have the capacity to understand global economics. However, Maggie Modo lives in a world where global economics can affect her experience. If there's a shortage of dog food at the plant in California, her food's going to get changed. Or if something happens with your career, she has to move to a new house in Austin, and then she's going to get passed off to her, So Maggie Modo experiences global economics, but she's not aware of that because her brain has limited capacity. So that gap between Maggie Modo and global economics, I think, is the same between my brain and God's brain. No matter how hard I try or anger or figure it out, I just don't have the capacity or the sensors to actually truly understand the magnitude of the experience because my brain is limited, right? And so at the end of Maggie Modo's life, and she meets the creator, God would be like, hey, you were a dog. What was your job? To love my owner and go play fetch. Catch the ball.
I mean, owner is just a tough word, but
whatever we do, whatever, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
like
totally.
my caretaker.
Yeah.
Love my caretaker, right? And
play fetch.
And play fetch, right? And so I think, I had and I'll go a little deeper here. When I embarked on my psychedelic exploration. It was really intense, really fast. It was like an overnight thing where it was just like, boom, the gates opened. And I was using a lot of time and energy trying to like map it out. Like, I got to figure this thing out. What's going on here? Like, and I was, for 2 years of just like, go deeper ayahuasca, 5-MeO, go deeper. Like, where's the wall? Like, what's going on? And I had this really powerful meditation. I'll never forget. It was a sober meditation. And I sit down and I'm in this meditation. I get this really powerful vision. And in the vision, I had just died. And I returned to whatever the creation is. And there was this powerful remembrance of like, oh yeah, this place is infinite. It's eternal. It's always been here. It never ends. I totally remember this. Of course I remember this. But Doug, in my physical bodiness, is very limited. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. You're going to die. Like, my cells I'm changing. I'm getting older. I just turned 36. Like, I'm going to die. And I remember thinking like, oh, I wasted my whole experience as Doug trying to figure out something that's infinite. It'll never end. So if I'm only going to be Doug for 80, 90 years, I want to go maximize my Doug experience. So what does Doug like to do? Yeah, I like to do plant medicine ceremonies in the jungle, but I also love playing golf, and I love college football, and I love hanging out with friends and shooting the shit. So how do I go maximize that experience to its fullest, knowing it's a limited time, knowing, or hopefully returning to an infinite understanding and intelligence of love and understanding? That's what I think happens.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And I'm okay if I'm wrong.
Right. Exactly. It's all,
and it's all coming from a limited brain that has no idea, right? It's Maggie Modo gap, right? And so
I love that.
Yeah.
And it's like, what a beautiful belief to have.
Yeah. So, holy shit, we're alive. How do you maximize the experience while we're here?
I mean, it's moment to moment peak life, and like feeling that each moment could be peak life, even the mundane.
Yeah.
And it's a choice. It's like every moment's a choice.
Yeah.
And that we get to choose how we want to be. I think for me, like my coach said to me last week, he was like, for you, it's not about becoming bigger or smaller. It's like in the world, it's like, it's about pleasure and pain. He was like, you're now becoming more and more and more aware of like when you're in pain, so you can get back, you can like transmute that into pleasure. But for you now, it's like receiving pleasure and just like accepting it, like allowing it, just like getting comfortable with it.
Has that been hard for you to do in the past?
No, but like, as entrepreneurs, we're always like trying to make things better. It's just easy to like focus on, okay, how to improve myself. Let me make myself better. Let me do the personal development work across over a dozen years. I've done like deep, somatic, like, all the different types of personal development which I want to improve. But he's like, put that aside. Now just like truly allow yourself to just fully feel pleasure. That is your job. Like, let that be your job, to feel pleasure. And not focus on like what you need to work on and like the pain and like the this and the that. Just like you've done that, you're doing that. It's already like you're A+, like you're working on it. Like, and you're going to keep messing up there, and you're going to keep coming back, and you're going to keep rupture and repairing. And that's part of that part of you. But I challenge you to like triple click on pleasure. Like what is it going to bring you more pleasure? Like, is this pleasure? Like, I feel like just get continuously like focus and feel into pleasure. And that's interesting for me to be like, ooh, like, does this bring me pleasure right now? Like, is this pleasurable? Like, that's interesting. It's different. It's not like, oh, let me fix the thing. It's like, ooh, like, can I feel more pleasure? Interesting.
Yeah.
Right?
It reminds me of that quote that says, you ruin the moment by trying to enhance it.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this is good, but it's a level 8 pleasure. How do I make it to a level 10?
Right.
Right. Can actually just sit in the level 8 and enjoy the 8
the pleasure.
and soak the juice of the 8.
Yeah.
Even though you could maybe get to a 10, Right.
Just be with the 8.
Can I just be with the 8?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. That's exactly the point. It's just there's nothing to make better. Just
even if you could.
Yeah, even if you could.
Even if you could.
Yes.
Can you sit in the 8?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So what is your work?
What is my work? I'm a coach, full-time coach.
Okay.
I work right now. I have almost 100 one-on-one clients.
Jeez.
I know. I love it though. I'm on one-on-one calls from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. almost every day. And it energizes me.
7 days a week or 5 days a week?
5 days a week.
Okay.
And it energizes me. I get fired up with it.
That's amazing.
It's my favorite thing. I have more. I have 5 coaches underneath me now because we've grown. My company's grown.
Amazing.
And my clientele, the people who are listening to this podcast, are so my previous life. I was top sales guy.
Right.
Right. Number 1 sales rep. Did the thing. Was the company sales trainer for a multi-billion-dollar company, and had an exit with them, and then had my big time spiritual awakening, and which is what my book Holy Shit We're Alive's about.
Amazing.
Right. And
I need to read it.
Yeah, you got it. And then I've kind of landed in the spot of helping those who are in sales because I still know the sales game very well.
It is kind of crazy that the same title. Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Isn't that wild?
Keep going. Yeah,
and it came to me the first time I ever did ayahuasca.
I know. I
had this moment where I was reborn. Like I died. I was dead. Doug. I literally thought I was died. I died. And then I was brought back into my body. And I remember looking at my hand and I'm like, holy shit. Like I think and I can make a fist. Like it was almost like I was experiencing my body.
We were like this too. We were like,
yeah.
Like, shit, we're alive.
I literally was like this. I'm like,
yeah. It was
it just does that. Like I tell it to move and it just
totally.
and I'm like, holy shit. I remember the actual quote for me was, holy shit, this is what it feels like to be alive.
Yeah.
This is what it feels like. This is amazing.
Yeah.
But we fine-tuned it for the title and it just happened to be the same thing.
Yeah. It's crazy. Okay, so sales guy then.
Yeah, sales guy. So
awakening and then
yep, had the awakening. And then I was actually building another company called The Daily Shifts, which is a personal development app that Biette actually did the breathworks for.
Cool.
Yeah, our mutual friend Biette. She was like my first.
It's my birthday.
Amazing.
Tomorrow.
God, I got to go see her.
I know.
She was my first like spiritual coach.
What time does the thing start? You should come by and see.
I should. What time do you guys start?
It starts at 6, but people are going to be showing up.
Yeah. Maybe I can swing by 3. I need to be at Andrews thing at 4.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Anyways, so Biette was kind of like my first coach. I was building this personal development app type of thing. And then people just out of the woodwork would call me and be like, hey, can I pay you to be my mentor? Because I know you're really good at sales, but I can also tell by what you're posting online that you're like really in tune and you're fulfilled and the spiritual thing I'm curious about. And I was like, sure, And then eventually my calendar just got so full of mentorship that I'm like, this is a company.
Right.
And then I launched Alchemy Coaching 3 years ago.
Cool.
Yeah. So
and what makes you a good coach?
I don't know. I have no idea. I would say.
What training do you have?
Yeah. I would say
I guess you're a sales trainer. So.
Yeah. So I did sales training for 10 years. And I've always kind of had this gift of being able to articulate complex insights in a way that's digestible.
Beautiful.
It's just kind of very natural for me. Hence the intensity of a sales process of being able to break it down in a simple way that people could understand and then implement.
Mm-hmm.
And then, on the spiritual piece, a lot of it, it's 10,000 hours of Michael Singer.
Right.
Right. So I bring in kind of this, my whole thing is, listen, when a client sits down with me, I say, as a coach, this is going to sound weird, but I'm actually not in the business of helping you get what you want. I'm also not in the business of helping you avoid what you don't want to have happen. I am 100% in the business to help you become the type of person that regardless of how your life unfolds, the business failure, the divorce, the financial problem, you can handle it. You can handle it.
What is it what is it you think from a relationship perspective that you're like seeking? Like what are you why haven't you been in a thing and what are you?
I've had some amazing partners. I've been so blessed, incredibly brilliant. Every one of my ex-girlfriends I have so much love and compassion for.
Beautiful.
Learned so much from them. And I am desiring, which is the source of my suffering. I would, right? Going deeper there. I am desiring I call it almost like a noble silence of knowingness with my partner, rooted in a spiritual connection of growth and understanding and surrender, and to be able to share, intimate moments. And I think the standard I have is I am totally okay if I die alone. I'll be okay. And I will not settle on a partner until my life is enhanced with them. You being a part of my life is enhanced. And together, I'll go back to Michael Singer. He says there's 2 points when you get married. The first one, standards. First one is a happy marriage is when 2 people love themselves so much that they want to serve and share that energy with each other. And the second thing he says, you only get married under one condition. You absolutely have to. The love is so big and so strong, and your life is so beautiful and so connected and so supportive and passionate and loving, and you guys challenge each other and push each other and you share love together. It's so big that it'll be the easiest decision you've ever made in your life, and you have no choice but to marry this person.
Beautiful.
And so that's kind of where my standard is, and I just as of today, we haven't been there yet.
Love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at on that piece. Yeah. Stay tuned.
Yeah. Excited.
Stay tuned. So what's next for what's 2025 looking like for Miki? You've done a lot. You're a phenomenal entrepreneur. You're a great, you inspire a lot of women, multiple time author. You're created, your newest business is literally helping save the planet, right? You're going through a big transition in your romantic relationships. You're kind of going to get settled. What are you, let's say it's 1 year from today. What would you hope we'd be celebrating?
Just like, being, well, for me, like what's the most important is like, a depth of connection with myself, depth of connection with another, like the true, like that feeling of nowhere else I'd rather be. My relationship with Hero continues to just thrive and be even more juicy and beautiful and fun and, playful and loving. And Hero, my company, is really serving moms and the planet in a really powerful way where, it's like, for those who don't know what Hero is, it's like, we figured out over the last 4+ years how to harness nature's greatest decomposers, which is certain type of our fungi that have been able to break down trees over hundreds of millions of years. Turns out the carbon backbone of these hardwood trees are very similar to the carbon backbone of plastic. And so these decomposer fungi that can break down trees can also break down plastic. And we figured out how to create shelf-stable plastic-eating fungi where you actually immobilize, like Han Solo, cryo frozen.
Incredible.
Fungi that then when you re-wet them, so our first product's a baby diaper, because diapers are number 1 household waste item, number 3 waste item in a landfill. Every baby goes through 6,000 diapers in their lifetime. I mean, each diaper takes 400 years to decompose. It's like crazy stats. And when the baby poops in the diaper, you just drop a little Hero pouch in there as you're changing the baby, and then it triggers these dormant mushrooms to be fertilized by the baby's poop, which is mother's breast milk mostly, and then it triggers the baby poop. Triggers a fungi to grow out of the pouch and then eat the diaper itself within a few months instead of 500 years, 400 to 500 years. And then when it ends up in landfills, the dream is for it to start eating plastics in landfills too. And so it's just like double solution. So my dream is that it is really embraced by mothers, by parents, by the world, and that like, can we really, really commune with nature? Can we really go back to being hand in hand in a true symbiotic way to be in relationship with nature? We just forgot what it feels like, and I think that there's such a opportunity to just truly reconnect and just find the interconnectedness again, and through a brand. And I think that's what makes it so interesting for me. Like, can we change culture through a product? And I really believe that these kinds of things are catalysts to conversations. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to acknowledge you for your commitment to serving not only community, but planet Earth as a whole. And I can feel in the way you talk about it that it's like a true passion of yours, and it's really inspiring.
Yeah. I mean, what else? Like, what else is more important than our kids and the next generation and the planet? Like, we got nothing otherwise. There's nothing to live for, and it's not even necessarily our kids, it's just the next generation, but.
Well, we're glad you're leading the front. It's important work.
It's good stuff.
Miki, thank you so much for being on the show. I could talk to you for hours.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for this future friendship and this connection. And I know there's going to be a lot more fun synchronicities along the way. And really looking forward to expanding with you.
Come to Austin. Sure.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.